We're back, and I'm so excited that we're with a novelist and screenwriter, Kathy Aspden. Did I pronounce your last name correctly?
You did it fine.
Good. Happened to be at the Katuitt Center for the Arts a couple of weeks ago, and you were there promoting a book that you've just written. I said, do you want to be on TV? You said yes. We had a chance to talk, and I learned a lot of really interesting things. Number one. Number two, I'm very humbled to be here with an author and screenwriter, an actress and writer who I take a writing class with. So I figure you guys are going to be able to teach me all about writing and how to write a book I want to write and stuff like that.
In half an hour we can do that.
Yeah. Well, we probably have a lot less time
writer,
in that.
Bets.
So
You are such a natural storyteller.
Okay.
That's what I told her. The first thing is storytelling.
Yes.
You can tell a story.
You're
You
so-
I can
write
tell a
You're
story.
so good at it. You just told us one before we went live. Yes.
No,
Absolutely.
It was inappropriate for the air. Anyway, Kathy, tell me about where you're from and how you got into this writing.
Absolutely. Well, I'm from Cape Cod, and I've always, and a lot of writers have always been writers. And so you either identify yourself as somebody who's quick to write anything, whether it's a poem or a story or a really good condolence letter. Some people identify themselves as writers, and other people even can be fearful of writing. So writing my whole life was normal and natural, but I did kind of amp it up into high gear in my 50s when I started back to college. And
In your 50s, you
in
started
my-
back to college.
Yes, I just turned 50, so it was 10 years ago. And now everyone knows. And but you start to write a lot. You have to write term papers, you have to do a lot of research, and it was like finding my joy again, even though it was really difficult. I was taking anatomy and physiology and biology and things that I only had kind of a folklore understanding of, tissues and, everything.
What were you studying?
I thought it was interesting. So
Oh.
I wanted to just finish, I had a psychology degree, I wanted to finish that. I had taken a lot of the really awful things right after high school, like I had calculus behind me. I don't think I could have gone back to school if I had known calculus was ahead of me.
right.
But then I took biology, so you may as well take calculus.
Well, they say college isn't for the young.
It really isn't. You almost have to have a base of experience in order to understand the concepts that you're presented with, or to get the full richness out of a class.
That's what I think, too.
You don't even know enough to ask the question when you're in a class that, or I didn't at 18 years old. I didn't even know what I wanted to do at 18. I knew a few basic things. I went to college to be a medical secretary, and so that's what I did. And then
What a modest ambition.
a medical secretary.
Yeah.
That's
Well, and it was
back
fun.
in the day, yes.
And it was fun, but what it meant was really, and forgive me, everyone I ever worked for, really bad pay, long hours, kind of
Boring.
thankless and boring, except the people were interesting. And then when I got married and we decided to start a family, I knew that I wasn't going to be away from them for 40 hours a week in anybody's office. So I went back to school when my kids were little to get my hairdresser's license. It was something we had done for generations in our family. I was already doing it in my kitchen.
Yeah.
So I got the license and eventually owned my own salon for 20 years.
Were you still writing during all this
So I
time?
was still writing during all this time, and I actually was looking back after you and I spoke, some of the things I had originally written, and it was not terrible.
I'm glad to hear that.
It holds
Yeah.
up. But anyway, so when I went back to school, I also at the same time started taking writers classes at Cape Cod Writers Association. They have a conference in the summertime, and at that time it was held at the Craigville Beach Conference Center,
that lovely conference center.
which is wonderful. And it had, 2 plugs. So it was really old school. It wasn't, so they wouldn't show you a bunch of PowerPoint presentations and do 85 movies. It was a screenplay class. So it was, here's your objective. This particular movie should have had this one scene in it. You've got 10 minutes to write the scene. Really? And so having not written before for any kind of screenwriting, I just blustered my way through it. And the instructor said, when she was reading all of them, we had to pair them off with other students, whatever. And she said, well, that's the one I would have put in. And I was just like, oh,
Exciting,
oh my
yeah.
gosh, yes. But I had said this to you the other day, the concise way that you write for screenplays was wonderful training for the novel. But what I loved about it was that you were using the fewest words that you could to create the largest picture that a person can see or absorb from you. And don't you find that that's where you kind of have that, okay, how can I make this so that I can make one gesture or one movement and you will know something about the history of a character, you'll know what their thoughts are at that moment, you'll know what their next move might be or
Something
not if they're trying to
tiniest
confine
gesture,
it. The tiniest little gesture.
Were we talking in writing class about, a writer was describing her mother and how she flicked a little bit of tobacco off her lip.
It doesn't take much.
And it painted such
Yes,
a picture. It
exactly.
just filled in so much in her
Exactly.
paragraph.
Right,
Like we knew
right.
exactly who she was talking
But
about.
it definitely satisfied my puzzle mind.
It did.
Because I'm somebody that wants to, I'm digging at things. I mean, I can't have a cup of tea without the tea bag looking dissolved and exhausted at the end of it. It's just terrible. I'm exhausting to be with, I want to say.
But in a good way.
In a good way. Well, I used to think high maintenance meant I wanted jewels.
All right.
And then I gave it like a second thought and went, oh no, you're high maintenance. You're going to ask the questions that nobody's asking and you're going to need to know the answer. And when you say to somebody, blah, 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 and they say, oh, I don't know, and you think, that's it? You left it at I don't know? We've got Google, we've got Siri, we've got
You're missing
Alexa
so
now. We
much.
can just yell it into the room and somebody's going to tell us the answer. So, anyway, back to where I started with the book.
You're
so,
the screenwriter.
I know. So the screenplays, so I ended up finishing a screenplay that I was working on, and this screenwriter, Jules Selbo, who was also a professor at Fullerton College in LA, asked me, she said, hurry up and finish it, I want to take a look at it. And she ended up forwarding it to Craig Anderson, who was doing a lot of movies that were in the same genre, which was romantic comedy, which is what I'd first written. And actually everything's a romantic comedy, even a dismal drama is a romantic comedy.
Okay.
There's romance
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
romance in NCIS. But so
true.
it is true. Like everything comes down to who do you love, who do you hate,
Right.
which is a romantic comedy. So anyway, it's so funny that I'm telling you this, but because I hadn't really thought about that. But yeah, it must be true. So when she forwarded it, he said, well, I'd be interested in having a conversation. When is she coming out to LA? And I said, now.
And that must have been very
Wow.
exciting.
Oh, I was
mean, that's a little
so
far from Cape
excited,
Cod. Yeah.
so excited, and it happened to be during a Super Bowl game, and so he invited me to his family Super Bowl party,
Oh,
and my friend who was a screenwriter, who actually I was trying to think of what the name of her book is. She just wrote a novel too, and but it's Jules Selbo. I'll put a plug in for that.
Okay.
And anyway, so it was this great time, and he said to me, okay, so you're a screenplay, what I'm looking for is a very rated G Hallmark kind of movie, and I love the concept of your movie. And I was like, wait, my movie is about Grace Mitchell, who at 49 years old has written a scathing self-help novel entitled Act Your Age, Stop Wrecking Your Life by Trying to Stay Young. And she writes it because of a bad ex-husband thing where he has an affair with a woman. Anyway, and then
Blah,
she
blah,
goes
blah,
out, blah, blah,
romantic
blah,
comedy.
romantic comedy,
Yeah.
but she goes out on book tour and she falls in love with a 38-year-old plastic surgeon. And then throw some more stakes onto that, she finds she's pregnant. So what's Hallmark about that? Like, there's almost
that's all Hallmark.
nothing about that that's Hallmark. And so, anyway, we
My
started
mouth
talking.
is open. Yeah.
So, but the rewrite turned out to be just as funny, and it was that the stakes don't have to be as high. It doesn't have to be that they had a love affair. It doesn't have to be that she got pregnant. It can simply be that she has said everything to the world about, her beliefs on younger men dating older women and women, leaving their husbands and men having affairs. And then she's on this book tour saying all of this, don't have plastic surgery, whatever. And then she finds herself in love with a plastic surgeon. He doesn't even have to be much younger. So they were like, condense the age. And so by the time I kind of wrung out everything out of it, it was still a good story. But anyway, so since then, there's been a couple of, I've written a couple of feature-length screenplays, and I started writing shorts, which were really fun to write. I have one that I called, which is a title that's already been used before, but Trilogy of Terror. It's about 3 bad marriage situations, and one of those was called The Solomon's Dog, which the Solomon's Dog, look, we're not even going to talk about my book, which is fine, because I love my screenplays.
Your book.
No,
Very
I love my
shortly.
screenplays.
Good.
But Solomon's Dog was about a marriage that is separating. So a couple has 5 days to separate all the assets, and if you can imagine how it ends. It's a little bit of a dramedy horror. But we ended up filming that with a group of people from Cape Cod Community College who were in their film class, but digital something film class. And we ended up calling ourselves JJ Backer because it was all of our initials put together, including the dog Eddie. And then we threw it out to a few film festivals, and it ended up in the 15 Minutes of Fame Film Festival in Orlando, Florida. So anyway, after going out and doing a few of these things, all of a sudden I was like, you know what you want to do, just do it. So I sold my business.
To your daughter.
To my daughter.
I read that.
Which I'm,
Yeah, so
I know.
nice. Yeah.
I mean, I had to like create my coworkers by giving birth to them,
Right.
and then paying for expensive colleges, and then having them come back and become hairdressers. It was a lot of work.
Yeah.
So in the end, I got to sell the business to them. You know, it was kind of fun. Oh God, they're going to watch
So,
this interview.
Let's talk about your book, because I told you I was reading this lengthy other book, so I just started it last night, and my husband told me that I woke up with this book flat against my face because I must have fallen asleep reading it because I didn't want to put it down.
Yeah.
So
So
I'm gonna
that's
grab
the
a
best
glass.
thing.
Baklava, Biscotti, and an Irishman.
Yeah. So the best thing about it is the number one compliment, and I don't care if you love it, hate it, whatever, is I couldn't put it down. That's my favorite compliment to hear from anybody. So when I started writing, I sold the business in January of 2016, January 1st. And on February 5th, I began writing this novel. And it began as one paragraph about the nature of soul connections. I could read the paragraph, but that would take the fun out of it. When you meet somebody, and you, whether it's a love relationship, a friendship, a man at CVS, does your soul recognize their soul? And then it's game over. You're like almost powerless to make any real changes. Does it set a perpetual motion that you can't really change? And so our infatuation's not I'm meeting you, it's that my soul recognizes how we're supposed to fit together. And so I, as a human player, can only just work within the confines of what the soul wants. And I know it's kind of an old theme, but it was like this for me. Like all of a sudden I thought, oh my gosh, so all those people that, that are in good relationships, bad relationships, whatever.
What about the flip side of that? My soul recognizes that. Whoa.
Oh, no.
I can't be near
So
you.
your soul
That's right.
recognizes that
That's right.
and also realizes how they're supposed to fit together, or not.
Or not fit
Or not,
together,
and
yeah.
that's
Or
okay.
never fit
Yeah.
together.
Right,
That gut feeling
So-
when you meet someone.
Exactly, and everyone has that, and some people ignore it or they chalk it up to, it doesn't really matter, or give them the benefit of the doubt. Well, sometimes you meet somebody and you can't give them the benefit of the doubt because they're not going to be your person. They're not going to be in your life for long, whether it's a coworker, and you just know that they're not your cup of person, and it's a gut instinct. And so my couple in this meet under a circumstance that is quick and fast. She is a woman from Neomachri, Greece, and he is a Navy medic at the end of the Vietnam War. And when they meet, he's 20 years older than her. He's dated tons of women. He's not even interested in getting married.
I
He
love
thinks,
how you're talking about him as if he's somebody that
oh,
you know.
they are more real to me than,
Yeah.
well, and they've definitely let me know who they are
Right,
as time has
right.
gone on, because when you start writing, you might have an idea and then they evolve in a way that you hadn't planned, and you think, oh, great, that's what you want to do. Now I have to research that.
So the best stories happen. You
The
sit
best,
down
yeah,
to write,
right.
and you end up, when you're
Well,
done, that's not where I thought that
See,
would go
you're
at
the
all.
same way. I was saying to Betsy that you can be, as a writer, you can be an architect or a gardener. And an architect builds a story and then writes it out. They know where the climax is. They know what the they know what it's going to look like. And then they let it all, they build it. And I'm sure there's a lot of creativity and a lot of morphing as things go along. But a gardener will plant a seed not knowing even if it's a daisy or a weed. And then when they throw that seed down, all of a sudden it just comes up. And and the story takes over the writer as opposed to the writer taking over the story.
So you're a gardener.
I'm a gardener. Oh, yeah. Are you a...
Sometimes I think I'm like an interior designer
Oh.
or a chef
Yeah.
or a
But are you a chef that has
facilitator.
10 ingredients in, and then you're going to figure out what to make with them?
Yes.
Yeah,
It's
so you know your 10
like,
ingredients.
I'll go in. I'll know my beginning. I'll know my anchor point, and I'll have
Oh,
a rough idea of the
You're an
ingredients.
architect.
Oh.
Maybe I am.
You're an architect for sure.
But those in between, but I
Maybe you're
a
I
gardening
identify those
architect.
points, but then what happens in between? So how I get to the anchor,
Yeah.
and then how I create the arc to get to the finale, is always a mystery.
Right, so yeah, you probably are both then. But I mean, definitely the fact that you even knew where your ending was. I mean, at the end of part 2 in this, in where I viewed the ending to be, I
Don't give anything away.
I laid on the floor and sobbed for a while. Said, "Oh, my book is done."
And when was your book done?
It was done 5 months after I started writing it. So
Amazing.
I just wrote obnoxiously until it was finished. And
Not
I mean,
obnoxiously. You
oh,
wrote with
Christine,
passion
I
and commitment.
didn't floss my teeth.
Oh,
I don't remember where my blow dryer was. I'm pretty sure there were days I had the
Maybe you-
same clothes on.
I
and
think that's fantastic.
so you wrote slovenly.
I mean,
That's fair.
the other day somebody asked my daughter how, so is your mom really immersed in the second book? And she said, well, I don't think so. She's still showing up on time, and her hair looks like it's been done, and I think she had mascara.
Oh, that's great. So it really
So,
took over your life.
Yeah, it does.
Right,
You don't floss
geez.
your teeth. I mean,
Right.
it's just, it becomes, and especially when you write in a way that your book is unfolding as it's being written.
Can't wait to get back.
Yeah,
to the computer.
I'd go to sleep thinking about my characters, and then
Can I
I'd
sleep
wake
less?
up.
Can I sleep less?
Yes,
Can
I'd wake up
so
at 4 o'clock in the
subconscious,
morning.
Could you do some writing while
Exactly, that's
Yep.
what would happen, and race to the computer, and then, or even days that I didn't wake up like that, even a day that I'd write in the nighttime, all I'd have to do is read the last 2 paragraphs, and I was in the story
back
like they
into
were
it.
more real to me than my family, which.
So
they
how's your
hate.
marriage?
So my marriage my marriage thrives on neglect. I think I wanted to, that whole thing where I was going to like kill the tea bag. I'm pretty sure that I could do that, if I given too much time. My family likes me to have a big, hefty project.
Because it keeps you out of their hair.
It keeps me out of everyone's hair.
Literally.
And I mean, I'm not in their hair. I'm more like in angst about something. They're like, oh, look, Mom seems fine. We haven't seen her for a couple days. But I wrote this in a cottage that I moved from Chatham to my property at my kitchen table, 10 feet away from my husband, and we're still married.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, okay.
I might
And when I
add-
read about your writer's shed,
Oh,
what do you
Yeah.
call your writer's shed?
it's my studio.
Your studio.
My she shed. I joke
Your
about
she
it.
shed, yeah.
I make all my jewelry
Oh,
there.
I was
and
drooling.
and write
I
there.
was just,
It's
then I
an-
became obsessed about that. I want
It's
my
I want the shed. It's an 8x10 shed, and oh my gosh, if
Yeah.
I have a hammock in there. If I have to, so I have 2 big hooks. I have a little space heater. I don't have a mini fridge yet. I don't
You're
think
getting
I'll
a
get
mini
one,
fridge, yeah.
but I do want to build a porch onto it.
You can have a cooler instead of a
And-
mini fridge.
Maybe,
That
but
would be-
I go out there and so I have a beautiful workbench for all my jewelry, all my bracelets, and then I have a beautiful oak desk.
Yeah.
And both like I just love to arrange them and prepare like a nice mise en scène and mise en place, and like when you cook, like you have to have all your ingredients and all your things out,
Yeah.
and so there's nothing more gratifying than arranging my workbench or my desk and sharpening pencils and getting prepared to take that deep dive.
Wow. So now you are different than I am, because I could
Right
sit
now.
in squalor with the dishes piled up
No,
to here
no.
and push the bills out of the way. Just
No.
literally push the bills out of the way off the table, slap that laptop
I'm a
down.
weed.
And you're not a weed.
Okay, stop. You're both making me want to write.
Good.
Which is a good thing.
Good.
And we don't have that much time, but I do want to tell people that you have a blog. and they can read all about some of your adventures
Yep.
on your blog. You're willing to come to book clubs and talk.
Absolutely, one of my favorite
So
things.
I'm hoping to get you to come to my book
I would
club,
love it.
which is
Oh,
right
awesome.
here on the Cape, and that could be our next book. And anything else you want to tell us about what's coming up for you? There's some award in your life.
Some
Or
award?
some- yeah.
Wait, what did I lie to you about? when we talked about?
Didn't you have a book or a screenplay that was
Well,
up for?
No, this
Is it
actually is the, it actually was a finalist for the multicultural fiction category of International Book Awards. That happened a few months after
That's nice.
it was published. Oh,
Very exciting.
really nice. It took a little bump in sales and interest after that, which I was thrilled about. But it's, I want to say more than anything else, don't be intimidated by that. It's just a really good read.
Well, it's great, and you can get it on Amazon
And you can
or
get it
at
on
any
Amazon,
bookstore.
yep, in the bookstores. You just,
Great.
look my phone up in the, call me.
Good, great, another
Yeah, very
great
exciting.
holiday gift.
Oh, absolutely. It's a
Right?
great gift for mothers and daughters to give to each other because it really does have everything from what a young woman might go through to what it's like to be in your 60s and realizing and looking back in your life. So,
Men reading this book.
oh, my men
Mothers and
have been.
daughters.
So
What?
one of my reviews on the book is on the back cover is from a man because I have had. In fact, this man, when he did read it, he said, "How can I get more of these books?"
Oh, how
And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Well, this kind of book," he said, "it had action and interest and emotion." And I said, "Well, you can start with not looking for a cover that says, he was shot in the back, and I have 2 hours to find the killer." I said,
Don't- so
there's a
those-
lot
the black,
of...
the black covers with the gold writing,
Yes,
with the
and
red,
the blood red
Yeah,
lip
don't
kind
buy
of thing.
those.
Yeah,
Don't
you
buy
don't have to
those.
do that. There's a lot of wonderful, wonderful
Or you
books
can
that
get
are...
a jacket that looks like that if you're a little,
Right.
if you're embarrassed to be
Exactly.
reading
I mean, one of my
a
first
woman author.
readers is a man, my friend Bob Beavis, who is so critical of me and anything he doesn't deem perfect. And
This is a
so,
friend?
good friend.
Sorry, Bob.
What?
And when he read
Hey,
it,
Bob, get
I
woke.
know. And he said to me, "What am I reading this for?" And I said, "Well, because you're my friend." He said, "No. What am I reading this for? Am I correcting the grammar? Am I reading it for content?" I said, "Well, first of all, let's start with likability.
Enjoyment,
Does it keep
right.
your interest enough that you're not going to take the book and throw it behind you like you do with a million other books?" And he actually, when he was critiquing it, wrote on a particular page, "This is where I cried." Now, that to me was bigger than International Book Award.
Well, Kathy, thank you so much.
Oh.
We're going on to our last guest, which you'll be interested in, because from reading your blogs, I saw we were both interested in wine
Oh,
and drinks. And our next guest, who was with us last year, is going to do some festive holiday
About
drinks.
time.
So I'm
Fabulous.
excited about
Bring it
that.
on.
Again, thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you very much for having me
Our
on.
pleasure.
Thanks, Kath.
Thanks.